Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. As you're probably very aware, there is a totally new shotgun frame up for grabs with this year's Festival of the Lost. In this video, we're going to look at this new frame on Arcane Embrace and specifically talk about real world uses for it. Far too many times is there something new and cool that gets labeled as must have, only for it to be vaulted by every player, never to be seen again. I'm looking at you, Luna's Owl. So this video and review is going to look at its performance, perks, and all that, and then we'll break down if it's actually worth grinding some haunted sectors for. Timestamps below if you'd like to skip to any portion in particular. And on that note, if you are hopping into Festival of the Lost for this shotgun, some other weapons, or those coveted class items, I have a guide up right now discussing how to most efficiently engage with the seasonal event. But now, into the actual video. Arcane Embrace is the first of the heavy burst shotgun frame, which is essentially a double fire slug. Its ammo reflects its double fire nature, but considering each shot fires 2 bullets, its economy is equal to that of any other slug shotty. As for its performance, here at Carl, it crits for 22,805 twice, for a total of 45,610 damage. Comparing that to a normal slug, and we get 41,467 damage. So it does actually deal more damage than what we're used to, about 10% more. As for its rate of fire, it's just a slight bit slower than our normal slug, and there is no assault mag to speed Arcane Embrace up. So with all that said, heavy burst slugs, on paper, are equal to or slightly superior than what we currently have in game. But where things actually matter when talking about the shotgun itself is its perk pool, which does include the contraband static roll you may have heard about. Looking at those, in the third column we have Air Trigger, 4th times the Charm, Grave Robber, Lone Wolf, Slide Shot, Dual Loader, and Threat Detector. In column 4, it gets Closing Time, Desperado, Precision Instrument, Surrounded, Tap the Trigger, Swashbuckler, and Full Shot. And if you have the illegal roll, Trench Barrel as well. More on this in a second though. Starting our perk breakdown at the third column, 4th times the Charm and Dual Loader are really the only perks that stand out to me. 4th times the Charm is an obvious pick for using the slug as a single target weapon. Here it works as you'd expect. Every 2 trigger pulls, assuming each shot landed is a crit, you get 2 ammo back. So this is an effective 50% bump in total ammo, all of which comes from thin air. This is a perk that makes weapons like Cataclysmic so great, although I feel like I should be saying made them great. There aren't too many situations in the game right now that require us to shoot that much ammo at once. Even in contest mode environments, there is a ton of ammo generation and a larger emphasis on burst damage these days. This is what takes us to our second perk that I was actually interested in, that being Dual Loader. This is a very simple perk that just means you reload 2 shots per animation. Now, to be frank, this frame should probably just have this intrinsically. In a mag of 16, you get 8 shots, but to refill that manually, you have to load all 16 shells individually. This is pretty cumbersome and takes an eternity. Dual Loader, though, alleviates that a lot, giving you 1 reload for 1 shot, or if you go the way of Enhanced Loader, 3 shells in 1 reload, which cuts your total reloads down to 6 individual animations for the entire mag. So if you aren't relying on some other type of reload like Rain of Fire or Dodge Reload on Hunters, Dual Loader is definitely my top pick for Arcane Embrace. But this third column was really just our ammo perks. What about column 4 where damage increases get involved? Well, in this column there is a ton of interesting perks. Desperado is something that I wish I got a roll of, as that could be quite goofy to use and see. Precision Instrument is a pretty great damage perk that pairs beautifully with 4th times the Charm. Surrounded offers close to the highest damage buff in the entire game, and Volt Shot is a very wacky perk to see on a shotgun. Not that I'd actually recommend it, but there is another, and that's Trench Barrel. Among all these perks, the only ones I want to recommend are Precision Instrument and Trench Barrel. Specifically with Precision Instrument, you can pair that with 4th times the Charm like I had just mentioned, and turn this weapon into a pure DPS machine. You ramp up stacks of Precision Instrument for up to 30% increased damage if it's enhanced, and use 4th times the Charm to get 50% more total reserves, assuming you have perfect accuracy. But you know what? It's actually assuming a lot more than that. This roll assumes you're not using a heavy weapon for DPS, you're only using the shotgun, the boss is sluggable, and you stay on target for every single shot. In this possible roll, I want to say it's for a pretty unreasonable situation. Right now in D2, slugs are out of fashion for DPS, that's just a plain truth. There may come a time where they return and this slug becomes a monster, but the need for optimal conditions and perfect accuracy really turns me off of this. What I would much prefer is a perk like Surrounded that only asks for you to be near enemies for a 47% increase in damage while it's enhanced. That, and Fourth Time's the Charm, would perform better in my eyes for a DPS role. But you know what feels better than that? Something we can make use of right now. A role that isn't just some what if role. I'm talking the illegal dual loader plus trench barrel role. A great combo that I've taken into the Lightblade, Vesper's Host, and a bunch of other activities with a lot of success. And to get this illegal role, all you have to do is complete the intro quest at Eva Levante for Festival of the Lost. And if you deleted it on accident, don't sweat it, as you can get more of the same role by completing that same quest on your other characters. But regarding Trench Barrel's unique presence, it actually works better on Arcane Embrace than other shotguns. This perk offers a 50% increase in damage after dealing damage with a normal or powered melee, and this will normally expire after 3 shots or 5 seconds. On Arcane Embrace, it only expires to the timer. This means you can get 5 to 6 shots per proc of the perk, which is a lot more than the standard 3. So looking at the larger role, this perk paired with dual loader puts it into the run and gun type of weapon to me, something you take into a GM or solo lost sector. And when comparing the two roles that I've brought up, I want to ask you a question. Would you rather a combo that leans into DPS in a world where slugs really don't cut it, or a role that shouldn't even exist, which allows you to eat up champs and high health targets? Also, on the note of it being bugged, if they ever replace this perk, I'd swap it for Surrounded, as they provide almost identical damage benefits with some similar activations, and according to Dim, this perk should have already been Surrounded. But onto the real world use cases of this shoddy and the illegal role, I touched on it a bit, but champ activities are where I'll be using it the most. This week's Nightfall, the Lightblade has barrier champs everywhere, and this season we have anti-barrier shotgun. So while farming this GM, I was running Arcane Embrace to pop barriers and deal considerable damage as long as Trench Barrel was active. Using this with builds like Consecration, anything with Arcane Needle and Warlock, or any melee hunter build means you can run around with your neutral game and pop barriers without friction. One specific combo that I see a lot is using Smoke Bomb on a hunter, which allows you to keep the Trench Barrel buff up a lot longer than normal, while also weakening whatever you smoke out. But even outside of champ content, I found it quite fun to run around haunted sectors with this in Anarchy. 2 sticks from Anarchy and some buffed slug rounds make quick work of the headless ones. There's a lot of activities in this game that revolve around us just moving room to room and taking out some beefy targets. Arcane Embrace and this Trench Barrel role is perfect for that. To be honest, even without the bugged role, it's a very interesting weapon. The double burst frame is, of course, it's the first we're seeing of this, and I expect we'll see this frame get a lot more popular as they add more weapons. But for Arcane Embrace specifically, most want this shoddy to be some DPS secret, but it's not. This illegal role deals some great burst damage, and I plan on using it quite a bit for anything that isn't a boss fight. I'm not going to force that 4th time's a charm precision instrument role because it's just too niche for me. And I'm curious what you have to say about that too. If you haven't tried just running around with this thing, I implore you to give it a go. It's actually a lot of fun. And I think that's everything I have to say. Thank you so much for getting it this far into the video. Your viewership means a ton. I'm only 300 subscribers away from 10K, and I would love to have you a part of the community. If you want to support me and support the channel, a like, a comment, a subscription goes a long way. Leave a comment down there telling me how you feel about this shotgun. I'd really like to know what your opinions are. If you want to support me and support the channel, but you can't think of a comment down below, Arcane Embrace. With that, as usual, I hope you are having a great day, and I hope to see you around.